How have you been, mate?
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, just steady away really. It feels like we've been playing forever, but we're only, I think, two league games in at the minute. So yeah, that's going okay, and yeah, off the field, all right. So yeah, just ticking away.
Happy day. How did you find that, mate? That was different this year, wasn't it? The champ starting a little bit later and stuff. How was that for you, lads?
I think it's just a long year, really. I'm not really sure, the reasons why behind it. Obviously you just got to get on with it. But yeah, it's very different. Obviously, straight into knockout rugby, in the 1895 Cup, mixed in with the early rounds of the Challenge Cup. So, you've got to hit the ground running, really. Otherwise you'll find yourself with a few weeks off. But yeah, we've started well. We've played every week so far since end of January. So yeah, happy to, we achieved one goal of reaching the Challenge Cup round where the Super League clubs come in, and we got rewarded with a trip to Wigan. So don't get much better than that for the boys that participated in that one. And we're in the semi-finals of the 1895 Cup as well. So yeah, as I said, it's league campaign's just started, but it feels like we've been playing for a few months now.
I bet it does, mate. Right, if you don't mind, mate, we'll go right back to the start. So, where was home for a young Ben, and who lived at home with you, mate?
So home was I'm from Leeds, so based around sort of started in Little London, but grew up mainly in Woodhouse, just down the road from Headingley, and it just me, my brother, and my mum, and then me stepdad later on married my mum, and yeah, so that were it to start with, and then um, got two other younger siblings, a brother and a sister. So yeah, sort of three siblings and mum and dad, and yeah, that's how it started really.
So, back when it was just the two of you, mate, was it very competitive? How was you? And then, how did you deal with the younger ones coming along then?
Yeah, a bit competitive. He's 18 months younger than me, so I never really played with him until much later on in my career, as I'm sure we'll get into. But yeah, early on, yeah, just obviously competitive, hanging about and causing a bit of mischief. But yeah, just always competing for everything really.
So, how was you introduced to rugby, Ben, and where was it, mate?
I was actually all football really, and then I went to
Okay.
primary school. Leeds Rhinos did a summer camp at my primary school, and I went to that, and then sort of yeah, I just athletically, it suited me. I sort of you know came in, sort of hung back and sort of defended as a fullback, but then it worked perfectly because then when I got the ball, I had loads of space. So yeah, that was it really. I sort of picked up a ball then. And I think at the time, I think it was Dean Bell who was around at Leeds at the time, and Bob Pickles. And I think Bob's played a role throughout my early career really. Bob and John Bastian, and they sort of recommended to my mum that he might have a bit of a talent here. Maybe we should take him down to a local team, and that's how it started really. I went down to Milford Marlins, and I think under 12s were my first age group, and yeah, from there really till now.
Oh, if you remember much about football, did you play like club football, mate, before rugby come along?
I just played school football, to be
Did
honest.
you?
Yeah,
How
no
was that?
stuff, just all for school. Left footer. I thought I'd be the next Stuart Downing. That's knocking on a bit now, isn't it? Yeah, left footer on left wing, up and down
Yeah.
touchline. But yeah, then rugby came in, and I thought, oh yeah, it's something I quite enjoy.
And you said, mate, that you played it like it just automatically happened that you were a full back at it, like defending deep but playing into space and that. Is that something that just come natural, mate, or was you told to go and do that?
No, I think it was just how our team made up. Really, I'm not sure. I think it was just a case of I could get to if teams made breaks, I was just in a position where I could get across the field and cover really. Or some might say it's because I didn't like tackling, but I don't know. It depends who you ask. But no, I think it
At
just it
least you
just
can get there. I could never get there, mate.
yeah, it just naturally happened. I just like to
Yeah.
track the ball really. when the opposition had the ball, and it just seemed like that was the perfect position to be able to do that.
I know you can play anywhere in the back three, mate, can't you? But just while we're talking about it, do you know when you go from full back to wing, then do you feel quite restricted in that manner? Because the support lines tend to be up the middle bend, don't they?
Yeah, that's it. You are you are quite a lot, to be honest. Obviously a fullback, you've got that free range of being all across the field. And to be fair, the way we play at Sheffield now, I've got a bit of license to move about and stuff like that. But yeah, technically you're either a left edge or you're a right edge, whichever side you're playing. And you sort of, unless you don't get those supports, sort of like you said, down the middle, following every play. So yeah, you are a little bit. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, right, mate. And when did rugby become? Was it serious straight away? Because that age group's when things start to change, mate. And obviously at the time you weren't aware of that, was you?
No, that's it. So I was playing rugby. I was doing a load of things, to be honest.
Yeah,
My mum always were keen that I tried multiple sports. So I was doing rugby. Like I said, I was playing football at school still. But I probably say it became more serious. I got picked up at Leeds on the scholarship system. And probably that's when it became a bit more serious. Probably, around 15, 16 years old, it became a bit more serious then. And you sort of getting onto your end of sort of high school years, and whether you're, well, for me, education was always big in my family, so it's how that would complement rugby as well. So yeah, I'd probably say that when I started, it was just pure fun. It was just just pick up a ball, enjoy yourself, have it, meet some friends, and sort of as you do when you're young, you carry those friends through the years and for life in some
yeah,
cases.
yeah. I mean, considering we're talking about school, then, mate, how did you find high school, and how was the transition into high school for you?
From memory, yeah, I think it were good. Obviously going from a smaller school and then to a massive school can be quite daunting. But I don't know. I'm just one of those people. I'm quite happy with just going about my business and being unknown, to be honest. So going into a big school, I just sort of you know kept my head down, got on with it. But sports was always a big thing. So, I was always playing sports and being talented at that. Obviously, that's where I sort of my confidence came from, and where I sort of excelled. And I'm a bit of a geek at art, so I sort of, you know, floated through different groups. So, quite sociable in that aspect.
Wrong with coasting, mate, especially if you're enjoying yourself, as the if they can both work, you do it, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Right, mate. So when it went into a team environment, then considering you've changed sports, there, how were you in a new environment as a kid?
It was good. Like I said back then, it was just all playing with your mates. I think we found it hard. My mum was ill when I was quite younger, and my mum and dad don't drive, so I relied a lot on teammates, to be honest, and teammates' parents, obviously, to get to games and stuff like that. And even me young coach Stuart Young, his family used to pick me up after school. Used to go around there, and I go training and he'd drop me off, when I was too young to get there on my own. So that were a big thing, sort of being, yeah, you sort of being independent, but not at the same
You
time.
are semi
Yeah,
independent,
sort of
yeah,
semi. Yeah, you sort of. I'm on
yeah,
my own doing stuff and that, but you're relying on the parents and your teammates to help you out. But I think as you sort of from that age and as you grow up, as we went through the years 15, 16, 17s, 18s, you sort of get that bond where you spend a lot of time together. Whether
yeah,
you're as soon as you're at training, on weekends, you're spending a lot of time together, and you just you sort of best mates, aren't you, at the time? So yeah,
yeah.
sort of. I think it were all right, really, to be honest.
Right. And did your school have a rugby team, Ben?
We did have a rugby team, but it was
Yeah.
rugby union. We had
Right.
a coach who was Bob Hood. He was called. He was in the sort of England rugby unions. Like I'm not sure what age group. I think it was schoolboy set up. So our school was rugby union, which was you know all around us played rugby league. Because coming in Leeds, it's quite a rugby league. To be fair, rugby union's quite hot there as well at the time. But everyone around us was rugby league, and our school was rugby union. So it took us quite a few years to petition and get it changed to rugby league, but we eventually did.
Right. So you'd had to do a few rucks, mate, before you got the chance just to
But
play the ball.
I actually didn't play. Like I said, I just played
Right.
football. I wasn't really
Did you?
interested in rugby union. You know, we played the
Yeah.
odd. Actually, the only time I've played is sixth form. We used to play the top age versus the sort of young age. We used
Right.
to do
Internal.
yeah. So we used to
Yeah.
do a half each. Used to do a half league and a half union. So that's the only rugby union I played in school. But
Yeah.
again, it was a case of I'd defend at fullback, but I'd put attack at fly half. So it were
Right.
just getting my hands on the ball as much as I could, really.
Yeah. It's just mega hybrid then, really, mate, weren't you? So was
Yeah,
there any rep rugby then through school, considering you're quite limited to your game time, aren't you, mate?
yeah. No, we didn't really do much. Obviously, I played a little bit of Leeds service area when I was younger, but again, I didn't really get picked up. I was quite a late developer when I was coming through. I didn't really. So early years, I played, but then when people started growing and developing and making puberty and stuff, I was quite late at that. So I didn't really play anything until right through until I came to Leeds when I was 18.
Right. So what was the talk around that then, mate? So when did the talk come from scholarship with Leeds to being on the open market, they call it now, don't they? But clubs were able to approach you, weren't they, once you left school?
Yeah, so well, I was locked in for the scholarship, and
Yeah.
from memory, I think that was I don't know, I think it was 14 to 16 years old. I might be wrong, I'm not too sure, but yeah. So I remember being at Leeds all the time, and then at 16, when it came to signing pro or not, I got let go. You know, they just said I wasn't ready, to be honest. I said I'd not grown, so I went back to amateur rugby. But Bob Pickles and John Bastian had always kept a close eye on me, so. I sort of played there for. Well, I actually took a bit of time out. I was racially abused during a game, and that didn't
Right.
get handled quite well. So you know, I got my mum pulled me out for a little bit, and then I went and
Yeah.
played some other sports for a little while. But as I said, you grow those bonds with your friends and that, and you know, I wanted to get back. So then I came back. I probably played about another 18 months amateur, and then yeah, I said when I was sort of under 18s. Then I got picked up back at Leeds again.
Things began to change then. Are you all right if I ask a few questions around that time, mate?
Yeah, that's fine.
So,
Yeah, yeah. I missed
first one,
out as well. Sorry, in between that,
yeah.
I played a little bit at Hunslet as well,
Oh, right,
which
okay.
which were good. Yeah, quite
Yeah.
enjoyed that. So again, that was a bit of not rep football, but you know, obviously a bit different there. Played at Hunslet under Tony Drury, which were good as well. Again, playing with a few your friends, and then obviously got picked up by Leeds.
Because that'll probably open your eyes to like no offense, but the standard underneath regarding facilities, equipment, type of rugby they play, mate, what sort of space you'll get. So it's all the lesson that you were after, really.
Yeah, you were really good. And
Yeah,
like I said, to be fair, I started at Milford and we joined Queens and the under 18 season, we won the National Cup. You know, we're playing in Lancashire most weeks because we weren't allowed to play in the Yorkshire League. So we're good players, to be fair. You know, we had a real good group amongst us. Mickey McLaurin, Jody Broughton, you know, some big names there as well. So James Brown, who's now at Batley as well. So you know, there were some great players in there, and as I said, we all sort of had a chance at Leeds, Wakefield, and Hunslet. So you know, we're all still we all came from the same amateur team, and we're still playing sort of rep football in patches with each other, so, which were really good as well. And like you said, it's a step up, and then we went to Hunslet, and then some of us got a chance to go to Leeds. So it's just like you said, it's just building and you get a little bit of an experience at a higher level, and then you get another one. So yeah, just those building blocks really.
right, mate. So initially, how did you take the release? How was that for you?
It was gutting, to be honest. You know, I
Yeah,
vowed that I'll sign somewhere else and prove them wrong.
yeah.
no,
There's no wrong with that, mate, is there?
yeah, no,
Yeah,
it was because, like you said, you've been there, you put in a lot of hard work, and then it's sort of, I think every young kid, you think you're going to be the world's best. You know, you're going to be the top of your game. You'll play forever, you know, and when you're done, you'll be able to sit back and just think about what you did. But obviously, rugby league, it's definitely not like that. So my mum was always big on education. So like I said, I went to sixth form, and then when I got released at 16, went through sixth form, and then you know, I went to signed to go to university in Sheffield Hallam as well. So and then it just coincided as I'd sort of agreed to go to Sheffield Hallam. Then Leeds came back in for me, so yeah, I was combining the two for a few years.
And then when the unfortunate racial abuse come, mate, was you amateur level at this point?
Yeah, that was amateur level. Yeah, yeah.
Right. And
So yeah, that just a
what
situation on
happened
the
to
field. Obviously, it got reported. It went to Barla. You know, we sat in front of a panel of, you know, middle-aged white men telling me that racism is, you know, that what I got called was sledging and part of the game. So no, it wasn't great.
her?
And you're a young kid at that time,
Yeah,
and you know you're probably those at those years where you're highly influenced, and I got a lot going on, and yeah, so it wasn't good, and you know that got adjourned, and then we were told we would be informed when it would continue. Apparently, the letter went to the amateur team Milford, and it never got passed on, so it just got thrown out in the end, and that's why you know, my mum decided it was time to have a sit down from rugby league and go do other things, which, you know, things happen for a reason. I think, you know, it gave me a chance.
yeah.
I played a bit of cricket, a bit of tennis. Again, went back to more focusing on football at school, playing sixth form and a little bit of that. So, but as I said, you know, I enjoyed the game. I wanted to get back with my friends, so you know, I came back and you know, things carried on really.
Yeah. Lucky, mate, because you could have lost you from the game, really. That's a lot to take, isn't it? And
Yeah, quite. Yeah,
technically, you're still waiting for a response, technically, aren't you? We'll get
yeah.
back to you, and then you
It's sad
just,
really, and you know, to be honest,
uh,
you know, this stuff goes on. You know, it's not just an isolated incident, but you know, it's, I don't know. I can only speak of my experiences, but yeah, it wasn't very good.
so was tennis one of them where you like us all, mate? You thought you were hemming for 3 months in the summer, and then the racket would get put away till next year, or was you quite competitive with it?
Well, I played a bit more than Wimbledon, but yeah, whether I was good or not, I'm not sure. But I saw myself as more as a James Blake, who's I think he's American, I think, but he's just big, powerful shots from behind the baseline, and that were me, just big forehand really. So no, I just enjoyed it. You know, it is
You
quite
stink as someone being class at everything.
I'm not sure. Maybe
Yeah,
not quite jack of all trades, but you know, not quite an expert
not
in
far off it.
any so,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah. But no, I just enjoyed it, and it's quite a lot of running, to be honest. And you know, I got some friends, obviously school friends that, you know, we still play a bit of tennis now. So, and I love watching it now as well.
So without knowing it, mate, probably all because tennis is like the little pivots, the small quick movements, isn't it? That you do. So it all combines you to being the complete winger that you went on to become. Really finishing in tight spaces, being early solid, bit of reading the game and stuff, mate. So that's why kids now, because I didn't play lots of sports where I was probably a little bit of football on the field with my mates and mainly rugby. But now kids go out and do a bit of everything. It's probably the right thing to do because it combines all the best of everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely, I'm a you know, a big believer in that. And like you said, you touched on some of the stuff there, but I think a big one is hand-eye as well, hand-eye coordination. You know, obviously tennis and cricket, they're a lot smaller balls, so you know, you got to be aware. And but like you said, yeah, I think it's important to get out there and just try different things, and you know, you can pick up different skills and techniques from another sport and try and tune it to rugby league. It's, you know, it's at the end of the day, if you can do that and add strings to your bow, you make yourself more versatile and ultimately make yourself better, I think.
So how was it going back and playing academy then, mate? After you've been back to Milford and then Queens, wasn't it? You've won a national cup, which is some feat, by the way, because like it's literally the best team in the country, mate. How was that?
It was good. I enjoyed it. Again, there were quite a lot of people there I knew. Um, And then back then it were more. I played more reserves, to be honest. Well, first year I didn't, because that Leeds reserves team were quite good. But it, like what being training around the likes of Jordan Tansey and Danny Williams and Ashley Gibson, all those sort of players who are a bit younger than were really Luke Gale at the time. Were in that quite a strong player in that reserve team. So yeah, be training with these guys on a night, and then obviously you get the sometimes the full time players who are not in the squad that week drop down and play as well. So you're mixing with some some really good players, which again back then a lot of it was just watching what other people do. I'm watching and seeing how they perform and how they pass the ball, how they make their reads and sort of stuff like that. So it was more just learning, just sort of more watching and learning what the more senior experienced players were doing, and then when I got my opportunity, just trying to do the best I could.
It's encouraged now, mate, and social media is quite key in it, isn't it? Hence how I've managed to get hold here. But it's like I imagine when we were younger, it weren't as encouraged to go and be in his pocket there and just ask questions.
Yeah,
Where now, like it's like lads are encouraged to, or young girls are encouraged to go and talk to the senior pros, aren't they, and shadow women. And like, do you think it's more open to that now, or do you think was you confident enough to go and do that as a kid?
I was not confident at all. Like I had back at Leeds, Brent Webb was my mentor, and I think again, I'm probably what you said there. I were probably one who didn't ask enough questions. I just watch instead. Whereas now, I think a lot. I think the youth of today are a lot more confident and self assured of themselves. And like you said, they'll ask away. They'll ask tons of questions. They'll probably think they're better than you already. To be honest. But yeah, I think that's just how it is. I think, and
Yeah.
if as a young player, if you can do that, you're tapping into so much knowledge. And I think it helps you get ahead because you're learning from someone who's already been there and done what you're trying to do. So if anything, you'll be able to learn from his mistakes and you won't make those mistakes. So if anything, it propels you a bit quicker.
And did you feel a step up academy to reserves?
um yeah, I think there was because of the
Yeah.
quality of players that were dropping down. The team, it were a bit of a lottery week to week. Obviously, you don't know what's happening with the first team, but those sort of squad rotation or fringe players, you're playing different Super League players every week. So yeah, definitely it was a big step up in quality. Yeah.
Positional wise, mate, was you always a back three player? Would you know how to go and float in the centres or in the halves?
No, I was always fullback coming through, and then I went. I think we'll touch on it, but I went on loan to London Broncos, and I played a bit of centre at London Broncos, and then coming back, to get in the Leeds team, an opportunity came on the wing, and that's where I've sort of been ever since, really.
Yeah. Well, now we've mentioned it, mate. Let's have a chat. How was the conversation to go on more? And I always ask people this, mate. So, did you see it as an opportunity, or was it a bit of a kick in the face?
At first, so sort of how it unfolded, we went from the reserves under 23s, oh sorry, under 21s back then. Well, that's what it was, under 23s, wasn't it? But anyway, it went to under 20s. So I was too old for the under 20s. So yeah, Brian McLennan told me I'd have to go on loan. Obviously, I was too old to play reserves. I wasn't ready for the first team, so I needed to go on loan. And I'd just done 3 years at uni, Sheffield Hallam, just finished. I was like, right, I'm ready. I'm ready. I can commit everything now to my rugby. Let's kick on and try and get into the first team. So it was a kick in the teeth at first, if I'm honest. I just got settled in Sheffield. Just signed a new contract on my apartment with my girlfriend at the time, my wife now. And then to be told, nah, you're going on loan. Was a bit of a shock, and I sort of thought, okay, I'm going on loan. I wonder if I can go to Sheffield. I'm living in Sheffield, it'd be perfect. But actually, at the time, Craig Harrison, my agent now, he wasn't my agent then, but he just sort of agent for a lot of the Leeds boys. He sort of said he spoke to Brian McDermott down in London. You know, and next minute I've got a phone call from Brian McDermott. You know, do you fancy coming to London? What are your thoughts? And obviously, I said, you know, it was Super League rugby. I said, yeah, I'd love to. You know, I like Brian, and he's one of his line. I still remember. He says, you know, this isn't like Leeds. You know, it's not all textbooks, and you know, you put your head here and you put your head there, which is what you taught. You know, through the academy. You know, in this situation, this happens. You know, you do this, and then so I said, yeah, that, you know, I'd love the opportunity. So yeah, I went down, and you know, I soon realised, you know, how you taught, you know, in the academy, in the reserves. You know, when you're playing full-grown men in Super League, you know, there's no black and whites; it's all grey areas. You know, so yeah, it was a steep learning curve, but one I really enjoyed. I love being in London. I'm sort of, like I said, I like London. I like the madness during the week. It's so busy. You can just keep yourself to yourself and go do what you want to do. But on a weekend, it just slows right down. And I really enjoyed my time there. Yeah, it were really good.
So could you have? I know you were still a young lad then at that point, weren't you, mate? As you are now, where you can clearly see it. But would you have had like the nuts to go in and go? Is there any clubs close in and around Sheffield that can go? Could you have said no to London?
To be honest, at that time, I don't think so, and it's not
Yeah.
in me. Like, you know, I sort of thought going on loan, them telling me I need to go on loan, you know, they'll have their best interests for me. So if, you know, whatever they thought were the best opportunity for me, you know, who am I to say no to? So, you know, I thought it would be Championship, if I'm honest. But you know, when Brian McDermott was interested at, you know, for a Super League club, he told me, you know, I'll have an opportunity to play Super League. You know, I thought, wow, well, that's what I want to do. You know, ultimately, I want
Yeah.
to be a Super League player for Leeds. So why not go and play Super League somewhere else? So, you know, it was tough. We there were some pretty big beatings, you know, week to week. But I learned so much, you know, and so many good senior players down there who looked after me as well. But yeah, so it were a really good time that I enjoyed.
You can't beat. You can train all you want, but you can't beat a match day, mate, can you? Especially consistently, like you said, week to week. The getting drip fed in and out doesn't really help young lads, does it? Gives them a taste, but you can't get a run of form out then, can you? It's tough going.
Yeah, 100%. And that was it for me. That was it. Playing week in, week out, because things change. Like I said, it's not textbook. You know, one week you could do something and it'll work. The next week you're coming up against someone else who's probably watched a bit of footage of you, knows what you're going to do, and it totally changes. So I think what I took away from that is, you know, anyone who asked me after that, you know, they want me to go on loan. Even the some of the boys now who ask me, you know, they want me to go on loan to play some minutes and that. I'm like, if you've got an opportunity to play, you know, first team week to week rugby, you know, I'd go take it, because worst case, you know, you're playing rugby, and you're putting yourself in the shop window, whether it's for your club that you loaned at now, but other clubs are looking at you as well. You know, you're getting minutes, you're getting footage out there. So, and ultimately, you know, you can't do anything sat on the sidelines, can you? So if an opportunity to play, go and play.
How did you find juggling the rugby in uni, mate? Was it smooth?
It was tough, to be honest. First year was okay. You know, what added to it is that, although I passed my driving test, I couldn't afford a car, so I was on the train. You know, trained on an evening in Kirkstall in Leeds, so I was getting the train across, sort of afternoonish, and then getting back real late at night. So, you know, it was tough. Group work I couldn't really do, and then my second year I made my Super League debut. So second year onwards, I couldn't do any group work really, because I was training first team. So yeah, it wasn't smooth, if I'm honest. It was quite hard, and then the third year, my dissertation, and I was playing Super League. It was just, I just wanted to get it over with really. So yeah, got it done. You know, got my degree, but you know, was sort of relieved when I did, really, just to be able to focus on the rugby.
Yeah, 'cause that's something we don't see, Bender. We think if you're playing Super League, all you've got to worry about is a Saturday. Fans don't get it, mate, do they?
Yeah, and I'd say now I think it's a lot more push now as well. I know Rugby League Cares do a great job as well. It's a lot more
Yeah.
push for full-time boys to get something behind them because we all know you've got a short shelf life here. I am very fortunate to play this game and to have played first team and won stuff as well. But I'm 35 now. I've not got many years left. Some don't get to 35, depending on what position you play and how your body is. So you need something to fall back on, which I saw and was a bit worried by at the time. Players who had unbelievable careers, once it's done, it's hard. There's nothing there for them to fall back on. So I think it's massive now, and you see it a lot more. A lot more players are doing a lot more stuff, and you do have a lot of time, in season, but you think you're going to be around forever. You think you've got 10 years, but the more FIFA you play, the more Call of Duty you play, it just eats into your time, and then all of a sudden you get responsibilities. You might have a girlfriend, a wife, a kid, and so yeah, that's my another big thing I'd say is try and use the most of your time, the best you can, especially in your early years. I understand you want to focus on being the best you can and getting the first team and be playing well every week, but away from that, try and do something with your time to help you out once your career's done.
So on the back of your own, you go back, mate, and you really establish yourself. So what was the conversation like when you went back? Were you aware of how your loan had gone and things like that, mate?
Well, that was a big thing. So I had really enjoying it at London, but I always had in the back of my mind, I've got to come back and prove myself to a different coach. Is he watching me? Is he seeing what I'm doing, sort of thing? And sort of towards the back end of that season while I was at London, it actually got announced that Brian McDermott was coming back to take over Leeds, which was a massive relief for me because he brought me to London in the first place. So I've had a year with Brian. He knows what I'm about. I'm going back next year to fight for my spot, and that's what it was ultimately. I had a shoulder injury that I picked up, so I missed England camp to get my shoulder sorted, and then get back to Leeds to try and fight for my spot. And that it was me. I think me and Lee Smith fighting for that right wing spot. I had a good pre-season and I managed to lock it in for week one of the season.
Right, mate. And when you're having to decline invitations to international camps and that, mate, is how do you view that they see it as he's turned us down, I won't look at him? Or do they appreciate, like, do you get the feedback that they appreciate your honesty and that you're not quite right and that
No,
they'll keep an
I
eye
think
out?
no, I think it was a case of that. I was injured. I needed an
Yeah,
operation. Sort of, it was Steve McNamara, and he'd sort of seen me play. I think that year at London, I played wing, fullback, and centre. See me play a little bit of everything.
yeah.
So yeah, no, it was a case of even obviously you want to be selected, you want to play, but realistically, when you play, you want to be the best that you can be to do yourself justice. And I couldn't I did it in pre-season, which were the baddest thing. So I went through the season managing the shoulder injury, and it just aggravated week after week. And so yeah, it wasn't good. But the beauty of it was, I got my chance the following season. I was back in the England performance squad and around the Four Nations, which was a really good experience as well.
And so going back home, mate, which Leeds is, isn't it? And establishing yourself. So on that game day, mate, your first game day of the year, you see your jersey hung up, you've cemented that wing spot, you've played a bit of centre and wing, so you know the difficulties of each position. Does it help your positioning? And how is it when you see your name on your jersey, mate, and it's in the club that you really want to play for?
Yeah, it were really good. Yeah, I said it were tough. I didn't know whether I'd be starting the season in the first team. in terms of starting. So yeah, it was really good. And I think the first game was Millennium Magic against Bradford as well. So, a massive derby game, in a huge stadium. So yeah, great occasion. And we won as well. Got a couple of tries. So yeah, it was great. I sort of like, I'm here.
Have a bit of this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've just got to work really hard now to keep my spot.
When you're in the big arenas, mate, and stuff, how do you go about keeping cool? And do you enjoy them big arenas more so?
Yeah, I really enjoy that. I think that's the biggest thing that I miss, if I'm honest, just the atmospheres and the big crowds. But yeah, I think as a young player, I was just always confident in my abilities. So although it was sort of huge, big occasion, big atmosphere, sort of on the field, you sort of, I don't know, sort of in my zone sort of thing of, trying to play my game. And so sometimes you don't really notice it, when there's breaks in play and stuff, you hear things and you can see
Yeah.
it. But for me at that age, the game was that quick, I didn't have time to think of anything else other than what were going on, on the field, if I'm honest. So it sort of, that had my full attention until there was a break in play or there was a stoppage at some point. But yeah, I really enjoyed, sort of relished the opportunity of being a young kid, sort of full of confidence, and having the senior players around me to sort of, they'd be sort of my safety net. I think, we were given a license to sort of express ourselves. There were me, Callum Watkins, and try and do things. And then, if it didn't quite work, we had the senior boys to sort of look after us. So yeah, I enjoy them.
When you're around the first team, mate, are the expectations sky high from the off?
There was at Leeds, yeah, at that time,
Yeah.
winning things, play, we sort of talk about now how much games they are, but Leeds at the time were reaching finals every year, so there were no weeks off. You were playing all year round, and the staff that were there at the time, did unbelievable just to sort of keep you going all year, because you can't play 100% all year. You can't be at your top all. So we're just peaking and finding the right time to get us ready. But yeah, the standards were high. We're there to win. Set right from the top. The senior players. I think at that time the club, it was quite a decade of success. Going back from, I think 2011 were my first year. So they'd been to Challenge Cup finals and they'd won Super League finals before that. So yeah, you're just following in those footsteps, and the standards were set. You just had to make sure you were, and for me, my biggest thing is not letting anyone down. So I was just making sure every week I was meeting those standards, or trying to anyway.
So what does like an ideal opening of a game look like to you? Are you someone that can be patient, Ben, and wait for your time to come? Or do you want to be under the kickoff, putting on the front rower from the back fence? Do you
I
want an
think
early touch?
I think nowadays I'm pretty, I can wait for it. But when I was younger, yeah, you want an early touch. I want to either, well, probably I want the ball in my hands and just take a bit of contact and to
Yeah.
get involved in a game. Yeah, I think I get, when I was young, quite impatient, and you're just feeling that you needed to get into it. But now I'm probably age. I'm a bit more relaxed now, and just the game will come when it comes, sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And that's all part of the lesson, mate. And you've earned the right to be patient now and understand the game a bit. So when them big games come around, mate, because I understand you've got the media text, but you have to say, oh, it's just another game, and we go about it not like any other week, and it's week by week. But in the back of your mind, to a build up of a big game, I've no doubt you know it's coming.
Mm.
So how do you cope with the couple of weeks before the big week?
I think so. When I were coming through and playing the odd game, what Leeds used to do is they used to pair you. A young lad used to share with an experienced bloke, and I remember I played London away in the cup, and I shared with Kevin Sinfield, and I was just asking him, like, how do you prepare for games? Like, do you get nervous and stuff like that? And sort of some of his answers, you just like, I think nerves are a good thing. I think you do get a bit nervous, but it's handling those. And for me, if I'm nervous, it's weird when I always get nervous playing against former teams. I don't know why. I just feel it, but I think it's a good thing. It sort of it settles me a little bit because it means something. So yeah, definitely in those big games, probably I think my earliest big one, well, maybe not earliest big one, but one where I felt something was, I think, I can't remember what year it was. It might have been 2012, but we played Wigan in the semi-finals of the Challenge Cup, and we'd sort of built 6 weeks of prep just to play this one game, and we come out absolutely flying. And I think just handling it is just, again, when I was just getting an early touch, and then it sort of settles it down. But sort of the weeks building up, it's just trying to, like you said, cliche, trying to think it's an ordinary game. But it's just, for me, it's just thinking about my involvements in the game, what they'll look like. Obviously, you probably know who you're playing against, so who I'm lined up opposite, who the half is, what sort of shape they're going to play. Does the back rower hit a hard line? Does he like to pass the ball? Just sort of rehearsing these sort of things and thinking it through. And then I'm hoping that once I've done that on the actual field, I've seen this happen before, so I can just deal with it, sort of thing. So yeah, I'd say that's probably it. Yeah, I get nervous a little bit before games, but once the ball's kicked, I'm sort of, I don't really feel that nerves.
Yeah. So how do you find a cup final day, a grand final day, mate? What does it look like for you?
Very different, if I'm honest. I think that's the biggest thing in this sport. Very contrasting. Like grand final, it felt just like another league game because it's like probably because it's an evening. I'm used to playing Friday nights at Headingley. It's in a football stadium. It's quite enclosed. So it felt just like another game, really. Apart from you walk out and you've got fireworks going off at the side of you, they scared me. But yeah, once you get into it, then it's like, it's just and you get there. I think Manchester. I think we stayed over in a hotel, and you go and look at the field before and stuff like that. But you're in a hotel, you're having food. It's the only thing I don't like is you're not in your own bed, but you get used to that. But then Challenge Cup, well, that's like massive occasion. You're coming out of the tunnel. You don't. I didn't realize how big it was. The stadium, absolutely huge. First one against Wigan, just so much noise coming out, lining up, doing the national anthem, just taking it all in. That one caught me a bit by surprise, if I'm honest. It's just like, wow, it's just so big, such a huge occasion, and obviously you're down before that one. Obviously, it's a big travel, but as a young kid, I sort of just enjoyed it because, coming from amateur, like I said, under 18s, we won everything. You come to Leeds, the winning trophies, you sort of expect it a little bit. You expect to be
So did you take a bit for granted? Sorry,
yeah,
Ben.
yeah, yeah. You expect to be playing big games. You expect to be, you've seen as a Leeds fan, I've sat at Wembley, I've sat at Old Trafford watching them play. So I've been there as a fan, obviously not on the field, but you sort of expect the club to be in these big games. So yeah, definitely. I think probably the first grand final and the first Challenge Cup were just crazy. But then the year after, when we got there again, then I probably took it in a bit more. I remember after the grand final sitting in the changing rooms and just thinking, wow, this is good. Taking it in a little bit more. Whereas the first year was just our young kid playing for my hometown team, absolutely going nuts. So yeah,
As you should be, though, mate, innit? As you should be. So, Old Trafford, mate, I've no doubt you a Leeds fan.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So, what's it like going to so I'm United. So, I imagine I'd be looking at Ellen Road a bit like, that's this it, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
without being rude. So, is it a bit surreal playing in them types of stadiums, mate? Especially because you said like Wembley's much bigger than you thought it was.
Yeah, it is a bit surreal. Obviously, you see them on the TV. You don't expect to be playing there. But once I think once I got there, I realised Old Trafford. the pitch, you see it every year. You know, the really small in goal areas. It's
Yeah,
not a big pitch, but obviously it's just got so much. You know, it's Man United, so that you know that's why it
the
means so
aura.
much. But
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, that's it. The aura of it. But as I said, so yeah, it's great. You know, some of my best stadiums to play at are the football grounds, if I'm honest, because they're such nice surfaces, and generally, you know, when there's a lot of people in there, the atmosphere is just so good.
and I don't want to put words in your mouth, mate, but earlier on, does the Challenge Cup feel a little bit more magical? Because it's like it's rugby league version of the FA Cup. It's massive. Like people that don't watch rugby league really or got interest in it tend to know about the Challenge Cup, don't they, mate?
You sort of envisage that. Yeah, and I think it's like you said, the prestige of it, but it's the occasion. I think because it's a blanked out week in the season. There's only two teams playing there. It's such, like you said, such prestige at the national stadium. Generally, it's in the sunshine. You know, in August, or it used to be. That's what I sort of envisioned as a kid, and me playing there. So yeah, I think it probably is. It's the size. I think it's just a huge place to play, and I just remember the noise. If I'm honest, the noise were just crazy. Just coming out there, yeah.
So you're still really young at this point, mate. You've been involved in massive games. I'm quite sentimental. So if I was in them types of positions, mate, I'd be keeping a jersey. I'd have a program. Do you do that type of thing, mate?
I've got my shirts, yeah. You know, I've got my shirts, and my mum, she's got files on files. She goes programs, everything. So yeah, this is literally.
Is
I
there a
can't tell
scrapbook
you.
somewhere with
I
all
can't. I
you
can't
write up
tell you
and
how
that?
many, but yeah, there's loads. You know, she's
Class.
done that for all of us. So
Yeah.
yeah, she's massively keeping everything like that. But yeah, got my shirts, got them framed, got them up on my wall, and probably now I probably appreciate it a little bit more now. I'm guessing I will when I'm retired. But you know, just thinking of those, yeah, definitely those good times and those memories.
Mate. So how is it playing in them big games, scoring, winning titles, playing in World Cup challenges, which comes on the back of a grand final win, mate? Are these all just like dreams ticked off,
Yeah,
like all the
definitely.
time?
And like you said, the crazy thing is I was doing it in my back garden, so to speak. You know, I only live down the road. I used to stand at the top of the south stand, you know, watch my heroes play, and I'm lining up alongside them now, winning trophies with them. So yeah, it will literally just what you dream of, really. If I'm honest, you know, just like you said, winning everything. Well, not everything, but you know, winning trophies, playing in big games, and yeah, yeah.
Or is it signing your first autograph, mate, when that first kid comes up? Is that a bit bizarre as well?
Yeah, it was funny. Obviously, Leeds is massive club, and you know you get kids coming up to you, you know, photos, everything. It's part of the job, really. And obviously, at a big club like that, I think the biggest thing for me is obviously being from Leeds, living in Leeds, and playing for Leeds. You obviously get recognised quite a lot of the place, everywhere you go. Um, so I think that's what I found really refreshing in London, was because no one knew who you were, and when you told them you played rugby league, what's rugby
What's
league?
that?
They weren't
Yeah,
even bothered. So I
yeah,
quite enjoyed that, just being able to, you know, I'm quite a sort of keep myself to myself person. So I quite enjoyed that, just, you know, going about your business. You could go to, you know, a supermarket and no one knew who you were, whereas up here, you know, you go somewhere, and everyone knows who you are. So, but yeah, it has you know, pros and cons with it. Obviously, you know, you sort of coming through there, you know, you're getting in places. You know, you knowing people, and stuff like that. So yeah, it works both ways, I guess.
yeah. And Magic Weekend, mate, is that something you approve of? Do you like the idea of Magic Weekend?
I do like Magic.
Yeah,
The only thing I don't like, and I don't know how you get around it, is I just don't like Luke fixtures. If I'm honest, you know, I think it would be perfect home and away, and then a Magic as the third. Not the, yeah, sort of, you know, the
Like
sort of in
the
between.
excess fixture.
Yeah, the extra
Yeah,
one. Yeah, I think that
yeah.
would be perfect. But it's a tough one. You know, I always thought it was tough how it used to be because obviously with promotion relegation, who you face at Magic, you know that those extra 2 points, it's quite important. You know, either way
Yeah.
around the table. But yeah, I'd like to see Magic stay. You know, whether it stays as a regular fixture. You know, I've been everyone who asked me, I'd love to see a nines tournament. You know, Leeds used to do it back in the day. I think it was the week building up to the Challenge Cup. I remember playing it as a young kid. We used to do the fastest man as well. You know,
Remember that? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
something along those lines. I just think it's absolutely dying for it. This game, you know, it's something, but it again, everything comes to fitting it in. And I think if we can find a way of getting rid of loop fixtures, we free up a few more weekends in the calendar. I think a standalone, whether it's Magic, whether it's a nines tournament, and everyone buys in. How do you get people to buy in? I think ultimately it's got to be money on it, really. You know,
Yeah.
whether we can find a sponsor who can throw a load of money at it, then you're going to see the best players on the field for the nines tournament sort of thing. So, but yeah, I'd love to see something like that. And see if that can take off.
Obviously, that answer probably covers Origin as well, doesn't it? Like our version of Lancashire, Yorkshire, mate. It's got to be like a capped midweek or weekend game where clubs all buy in, and there's no like. I don't want to say lads do it, but you know, like international football when there's been big games this weekend, but in the week they've pulled out. So
Yeah,
that, do you know what I mean? A bit like the All Star sort of game we had. You'd have
yeah,
lads
yeah,
pulling out, wouldn't you? It needs to be the buy-in where the fans see the best 17 against the best 17 at that time, doesn't it? But
yeah.
again,
It
it's
does. Yeah,
money, I suppose, Ben, in it.
it's that, and it's also obviously the
Yeah,
clubs as well. You know, you don't want your player obviously injuring himself, not playing for you, I guess. So obviously that
yeah.
comes down to it as well. But so yeah, but again, it's all buying, it's all everything, and it's just hard. Like I said, you know, I mentioned it at the start of the show. Our first game was in January, end of January. If we make it to the grand final of the championship, I think that's mid-October. So it's just finding places in the schedule to fit all this stuff in.
It is a long season, that actually, when you put it like that, in it.
Yeah, well, it's yeah,
Yeah,
it's yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Right, mate. So the move to Salford comes around. How does that transpire? And was anyone else reaching out to you at that point?
Yeah, so sort of towards the back end of my Leeds career, I got ill. It's diagnosed as a pulmonary embolism, which is like blood clots. In my case, it was on my lungs, and sort of a period where I didn't really know how long I'd be out for. 3 months went by, wasn't quite ready to come back, and Leeds decided to sign a replacement. And then that sort of another 3 months came, and then I was back playing. So I played the end of the season. I think I got back June, July, and played till the end of the season. But all in this time, I knew, you know, someone else had been signed. Tom Briscoe had been signed, and obviously that would affect me. You know, he's a winger. Three wingers into two spots don't go. Ryan Hall we're playing every week, so he's not going to affect him. So it come to the end of the season. I just thought, you know, oh, sorry, that was 18 months before. So then we played a season with the three of us playing, and I was told that, you know, he was a starter. Whether I performed or not, you know, I wasn't going to get that starting spot. You know, um,
Okay.
I was offered to go on loan to Wakefield, and I said no, just because I thought I was good enough to get in this team, and I wanted to be a part of this team. Sort of knowing as well that this was going to be my last year here, because, you know, if I'd been through, I thought I'd, you know, played my way into a starting role. I'm sort of 25-ish now, 26. I've dealt with some injuries, and I want to be playing rugby. So I thought this was going to be my last year. So I wanted to be around it. I sort of played 2 games every 6 weeks. It was sort of penciled in when I'd play. So yeah, I didn't really enjoy it that year, if I'm honest. I saw it as sort of clocking in and clocking out. I come in, I worked hard, I did my stuff, and then I clocked out at the end of the day. And but I'm not one to sort of throw me toys out the basket
Also,
and stuff like
yeah,
that. I tried to act professional. I did my job. That I came in, and I think the boys, I think that was 2015, 2014. I think the big cast at Wembley. So I sort of spelled in for games to keep boys fresh for that. But yeah, so it sort of came to the end of the year. I made my mind up. I'd apply my trade somewhere else, and it was a bit nerve wracking, if I'm honest. Like at Leeds, you sort of never out of contracts. You sign long term contracts, and then 2 or 3 years in, you sign another one, and they sort of keep you going like that. Or that's how it used to be in my experience. And then so to come to sort of again, I'm sort of mid-20s, coming into free agency, a bit scary, if I'm honest. But really good agent, Craig Harrison, sort of, I knew if I, from what I'd done and my ability and what I still had left, that I'd have opportunities, and there were quite a few opportunities, both league and union. But then I sat down with Marwan Kukash and Justin Harris, and sort of obviously they told me what their plans were, what Marwan Kukash's plans were to obviously have a real good dig and try and take over rugby league and sort of be a winning team. So they're also a little bit of a chance that I get to play fullback a little bit, which again I really like the opportunity. And some of the players that they already had there, they had Michael Dobson, Rangi Chase, some big names.
minute, Ben. Could I just plug the laptop in a minute, mate? Sorry.
Yeah, all
Yeah.
good.
Sorry, mate. Dynamic, do you not want
All right. Like I said, I
it?
talk for hours, so I lose track of
Yeah.
time.
No,
Yeah,
I will,
no,
mate. Yeah.
they just had some really good names already there, and sort of with with what they were speaking and sort of players that they were again. I think Kevin Locke were there as well at the time, and sort of players that they were looking at signing. I just thought it'd be a great opportunity for me. So yeah, I decided to sign at Salford there, and then actually my last game for Leeds at Headingley against Bradford, I snapped my ACL. So that would go in, if I'm honest. So I've just signed for this new team. I remember getting diagnosed. I had to ring Justin Harris that evening and tell him, I've done my ACL. But yeah, it were, it were good about it. Obviously, um, upbeat, give me a good message, and I just worked really hard. I didn't have any off season. I worked really hard with the Leeds physio, Andy Barker, and then the Salford physios when I officially signed there. Absolutely worked really hard and made it back for the. So I snapped my ACL in August. I think I had my operation end of August and made it back for the start of February for the first game. So yeah, just real a real tough grind, that one, to make sure I was fit, really. So yeah,
Mentally, you were probably all over the show as well with that, mate. Weren't you? It's been a tough decision as it is. You, you've then that happens, which is everyone knows it's not short term, don't they? And you know that more than yourself because you're feeling it.
yeah, it's a weird one. The ACL is one of those injuries where everything else you sort of see progression. Your shoulders and that you slowly weak. You can lift it a little bit higher, a little bit higher. With an ACL, it's like you'll go 3 or 4 weeks and you'll see no improvement, and then you'll see a little bit of a jump, and then it's like 3 or 4 weeks, nothing's happening, then so it's just real. It tests you. It's one of those that you can't really rush. We've seen players not from rugby league, but even from other sports, who you come back too early and it doesn't do you any good. So yeah, probably I played first game of the season February, but probably that first month of the season, every time I got a hit on my knee, I was like, oh, I was really
Like
quite
it was.
conscious of it. So yeah, but probably after that first month, so yeah, but again, I felt I had to be ready because this club has signed me, and I've got to be playing. So yeah, it was just a tough year that year. I think I picked up an ankle injury as well, and I struggled for a few games, and yeah, want a great year if I'm honest.
So how would you been with injuries? Because we spoke about one that you had before that, and then you had the blood clots, mate, which I imagine was rugby was irrelevant at that point. It's just about and being here and stuff, mate. And then your knee goes. So how injury wise, how have you been, and what has the comeback's been like?
Yeah, it's been pretty pretty mad to be honest. I don't seem to be one who does like strains and stuff like that. It's serious stuff. So my year in London, I fractured my skull. That's why I used to wear an head guard. Um, and then I come back to Leeds. I did my sorry, I did my shoulder while I was at London as well. So I did skull and shoulder there. And I come back to Leeds, did my other shoulder. So I've had four shoulder operations, fractured my skull, done my ACL, and I've had my blood clots twice as well. So they're not they're not strains and hammies and calves that the big things, and sort of again it's what people don't see. It's the physical toll as well. These a lot of the time you're rehabbing and you're by yourself. You might have a couple of others at clubs who were injured at the same time, but if your club's healthy at the time, you're rehabbing by yourself. You're away from the team. In my case, you're not on the field. You can't run with an ACL, so you're in the gym while everyone's on the field. So you do spend a lot of time on your own, and I think that's the physical, mental side of the game where what probably people I think don't appreciate really. But I think
Even
now,
if you do have company, Ben, sorry, it's only a couple of weeks. Like you said, you're doing major things. Lads are probably 4 or 6 weeks, not even six, mate. More like four, and or 3 or 4 with you. You're doing 3 or 4 months, sometimes
yeah,
six to
that's it.
nine.
Yeah, so that
Yeah,
it's a lot. And one way I look at it is, through my early stages, I've lost some time there, but I think I'm gaining it at the end of my career now because, like you said, I've missed, I'd say, over 24 months in terms of injuries. So I think I'm getting it back now at the end of my career. But at the time, like you said, I think it's something I appreciated a little bit more as I've got older, just the mental side and making sure that you're looking after yourself off the field, in terms of what you're doing and how you're preparing. But also what you're telling yourself, positive. You got to be positive. It's hard sometimes. It's very hard to be positive, but you've just got to find ways to keep yourself motivated. And for me, I like to do my own gym and do me like it might sound a bit weird, but fitness for me is a bit of a release. Not too much running to be honest, but like rower, bike. It's sort of my sort of time to myself. I go to the gym early on a morning and that's my sort of mental sort of check in with myself. So I think it's massive. And again, it's probably something that maybe not everyone appreciates or sort of sees what some players go through.
and through no fault of your own, mate. It's hard to leave at your club, so the missus goes through it with you as well, and an extended family. It's that ripple effect, Ben, in it, right through the family, mate.
Yeah, 100%. And it happens, obviously, however you're feeling, you bring it home with you and you sort of the people around you, as you've just said, they feel the effects of it. So, and that I think that was probably a big thing my last year at Wakefield. Things aren't going well on the field and, you play on a Sunday and it just sets up the rest of you. You come home Sunday night, Monday morning, you're hurting, and then that whole new week is just you just start off on a negative sort of a negative
Oh,
cycle. So
yeah.
yeah, I think it does. It massively has a massive effect, and whether you've your partner, they probably take the brunt of it. Your partner and your parents probably.
Like you said, mate, like Salford wasn't the most enjoyable time for you. As an outsider looking at it, it was like when you're at school, you used to your dream team mate in the back of
Yeah,
your
yeah,
log. That's how Marwan sort of seemed like he went about his business. So was it an easy decision to come closer to home then?
No, not really. I wasn't trying to get away. I wasn't trying to run. It was. I think again, there were a lot of things going on at Salford behind the scenes, and it definitely affected things on the field. Injuries again were a part of that, and for me, it was different as well because how Salford trained was very different to how I'd been brought up and trained at Leeds. Salford very much, I think, pretty much sort of the Wigan sort of way of training is that every day is competitive. Even on team run, it's competitive. Whereas at Leeds, we're sort of you're competitive, but then towards the end of the week, you're prepping for a game, so you'll have your team, but so it took some adjusting for me, and the travel as well. The travel was it just didn't sit right with me. So at the end of that first season, um, Ian Watson sort of took over towards the back end. He was the new coach, and it was a case for me. It was either I move over and have a real good go at it, or what happened was the club allowed my agent to look somewhere else for me, and Wakefield came up. So Brian Smith at Wakefield sort of knew a bit about me. Apparently, he'd looked at me before when he was over at Sydney. So and it was
He rung you earlier, mate, couldn't he?
yeah, yeah. But and like you said, it was on my doorstep.
Yeah.
So it was that opportunity, and by this time I was married now as well. So my wife, she had her career. She's a teacher as well. So if I was going to move, obviously it affects the whole family and moving everyone. So this opportunity, I was allowed to seek it, and it came up. So yeah, we're just down the road.
No disrespect to Salford or Wakefield, mate, but again, it's probably another shot to the system how an elite level club's facilities are.
Yeah,
Because
and
I've had a few
again,
lads from both clubs on, and like this isn't being disrespectful to them, but it is what it is, isn't it, mate?
yeah, again, it's what you said there. You sort of don't realize or what you take for granted. You coming from Leeds and going. I'd say there's other obviously very good clubs with facilities, but you know the chances are it's going to be a step down in terms of facilities and everything else. And yeah, it was, to be honest, Wakefield when I first got there, we were training at Featherstone Rovers. They've got it's a barn that they've converted, and all the weights are in there, and there's a wrestle room and stuff like that. So we're doing everything there, traveling up for the field and different places and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a massive change in terms of that. But again, it's one of those things you've just got to get your head round, and I think that's what was so good about that Wakefield group when I were there, my time there, because everyone knew the circumstances. They knew the Phillies. We didn't have the best of it, but we all worked hard for one another, and we're all a tight group, to be honest. And I think my first year there with Brian Smith started. It didn't quite go as planned, and what I'd sort of been told didn't quite come to fruition. But I then Chris Chester came in, and same squad of players were just bouncing, and we made it all the way to a Challenge Cup semi-final. So just some real confidence. Probably me because I was a senior player then as well. I felt I think they were some of my best years physically. I felt real good for 2 or 3 years there, and again we knew what we were, we knew what we weren't, but we worked as a team, and we got results.
Yeah. Hard work, mate, can outshine talent if the talent doesn't work hard, can't it? I know it's cliche, but it's fact.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and like you said, in a team sport, it's a massive thing. Team is the key word. You've all got to buy in. If you've got two or three not on the same page as everyone else, I think it shows in games. So just having people next to you willing to work really hard for you and cover you, it makes a massive difference.
Yeah. So what do you so you've been around a few coaches at this point, mate, haven't you? And are you taking the best out of them? Are you potentially going to go into that side of the sport? What do you see in coaches that don't tend to stick around?
Um,
Is it man management key in it, Ben, for the start?
yeah, that's a massive thing, man
Yeah,
management. I think the beauty of a coach, or the best skilled coaches, are those who can adapt from player to player. You know, there's not one blanket way of treating players. You know, everyone's different. You know, how you treat me might be totally different to how you treat, you know, the next guy. You know, different personalities, they respond to different things. Some need a harsh grilling, some just need, you know, steering in the right
round them, don't they?
direction.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, some just might need telling, yep, you're doing a good job. You know, there's lots of different things, and I think that's as a coach, I think, as I said there, that the good ones are able to identify that and bring the best out of the players. For me, I'm
Actually,
not really keen on coaching, if I'm honest.
yeah.
I'm more sort of boardroom side. I'd like to have a go at
Yeah.
that. Mhm.
I like it, mate. So obviously, there's been a few things there where the rugby's not just been rugby; it's been a business,
Yeah.
and you've seen that side, unfortunately, mate. Which I don't think rugby league's in a position to be anything other at the minute, is it? Again, not being disrespectful to people. I remember I spoke to a club owner, and he said if a player wants to leave, he can, but if we want to get rid of a player, we can. That can't just happen in football, mate, can it? So it sort of
Uh,
shows where we're at, doesn't it?
yeah, that's it. And you know, the word loyalty gets thrown about, you know, left, right, and centre, and I understand it in terms of the fans' point of view. You know, that's one thing that won't change it. You know, a fan will always be a fan of a club. You know, well, you'd like to think 99%.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say, you know, right, I'm leaving you for another club, but you know, but yeah, but it again, it is both ways. You know, I've seen it in my career. I've experienced it in my career. You know, clubs. You know, when the, you're not doing what you need to be doing, you know, whether you're still under contract or not, you know, they're asking your agent, you know, can you move him on? You know, who can I replace him with, sort of thing. So I think that's what I learned from my time at Leeds and having to move clubs. It is a business at the end of the day, and as a player, you know, you've got to look after yourself. And you know, I've sort of seen both sides because coming through at Leeds, I think I was blessed because it's been my club, my hometown club. You know, I'd love to play for the club, and I've been able to achieve certain things. And then it's come to a time where, you know, I've had to make a decision. You know, I'm going to have to go elsewhere to carry on playing week in, week out. So yeah, and I think that you touched on it. It is a business. You know, you're here for a short period of time as a player, and every player will be different. You know, some players will stick it out and want to play for one club and stay at one club, and good for them. You know, that's great for them. You know, if I had that opportunity, you know, I quite, you know, there's a fair chance I would have done that myself. But things happen, as I said, things happen for a reason, and you know, you've got to make choices, and you know, so it's just the nature of the sport, really. I think.
You'll probably agree, mate. I appreciate you quite laid back in that, but say we were coaching, mate, and a lad was just happily coming and checking in, checking out, like you said you was at one point, but weren't coming in your office and saying, why aren't I playing? I probably wouldn't want that type of character at me club.
Yeah. No, you definitely want someone who's asking. To be fair, I was asking,
Yeah,
but I think
yeah.
week two, I asked, what do I need to do to get in this team? And Brian said to me, "There's nothing you
I'm
can
sorry,
do."
that's not at you.
Oh yeah,
I'm
no, no,
just saying
I'm
in
just I'm
general.
just from
Yeah,
my experience. But yeah,
yeah,
definitely you want players chomping at the bit. I think to yeah, you don't want passengers. Definitely not. You want people, and I think again that's, you know, any sport you've got a squad. You can't keep everyone happy ultimately because you can only pick 17 players out of your squad of, you know, 25, 30 players. So I think it's being able to communicate both as a player and as a coach is okay. I'm not in this week. What do I need to do to get in this team? You know, thinking about that yourself. Where have I been good? Where am I not good? The player in my position, what is he doing that's keeping him in the team? And so I think as a player, you've got to have an idea yourself before you go to your coach. If you're just turning around to your coach and saying, "Oh, why aren't I in this week? You know, I've trained well." You know, again, I think that's the same as not asking him. If I'm honest, you know, I think you've got to be a bit smarter than that. You've got to, um, you take the feedback obviously, but you've got to be working hard and showing why you need to be in the team.
You can vocalize it right as well, like which is basically what you're saying. Do your bit of homework, realize what you know, like what your competition's doing, and then if you feel like you're hitting them markers, then albeit go in, isn't it, mate? You're not saying not
Yeah,
to, but if you're going in without really thinking about asking what you should be doing, there is a problem there.
yeah,
You should know
like
what
you
you should
said,
be doing.
yeah,
Yeah.
you should know what you should be doing, and you know you've got to be training. You've got to be standing out in training. You know, and the good teams that's what happens. You know, you've got good squads. You get that little bit of it's friendly rivalry. You know, ultimately, you want that spot, but if you're performing at a high level, you're forcing the guy in the spot to perform at a high level as well to keep the spot. So it's like you're both pushing each other, which is ultimately what you want in your squad.
So how did it go at Wakey, mate? And did was it something you look back on and you think it was worth doing?
Yeah, I enjoyed my
Yeah.
time there. Like I said, there it was a shock coming in, if I'm honest, but I worked really hard. Again, the big carrot was playing fullback. You know, I had a I started my career as a fullback and not really had a chance to play fullback. You know, I've just filled in games every now and again, but that was the first year of my career or first team career where I've actually done a pre-season at fullback. Um, so which were massive.
Yeah.
Obviously learning everything, timing, and all that sort of stuff. But we didn't really start very well, which didn't help. Then Chris Chester comes in, and I'm back on the wing. So, but I really enjoyed my time there. You know, as I said, great group of boys, and probably I'm awful with years, but I said we got to the Challenge Cup semi final. Probably the next year after that, I think we was it a 6 or an 8? I can't remember. We just missed out on the playoffs. I think we played St Helens and they scored real late just to knock us out of the playoffs. So those next couple of years were really good. Really enjoyed it. Real family club. Looked after myself and my family, and my kids grew up, as part of the club. So yeah, a real good place. It was just sad that it was real tough towards the end. I think the second to last year we just avoided relegation by beating London on the last day, and then we go into COVID, and then that sort of were the end of it for me. So, but yeah, great club, and it's great to see him bouncing back now. Obviously, things are happening, new stand. The team look really good this year as well. So yeah, a place I'm looking forward to go back to.
And like, so do you know in and around that relegation stuff, mate? What does it do to you as a player, but without playing? Like, is it always on your mind? Because it's like dangling your livelihood at you, mate, isn't it? I imagine contracts are null and void if the inevitable comes.
Yeah, you question yourself. Am I still good? Ultimately, that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. Am I still good enough? And it's the way rugby league is. Come that sort of end of the year, the crunch time at the end of the year, clubs are already speaking to players. So some players have already got, you know, options elsewhere. So that they've got their safety net. Some players don't have the safety net. Um, and in that situation, all the pressure was on us. London sort of had a bit of momentum about them, and no one expected anything from them. So for them to finish the season really well, and going into that crunch game at our place on TV, just all the pressure on you. And as I said earlier, we're usually playing on Sundays. You're taking that home with your defeat. It starts the next week negative. Then for me, I don't want to be out seen anywhere. 'Cause, I just can't deal with people asking me and stuff like that. So yeah, I think it is a tough time.
And do you know when you're at the bottom end, mate, what are them video reviews like? Are they are they a bit hard to watch and be a part of?
It's a tough one because yeah, they are, and I think you see blokes really trying, and you see some who aren't trying. If I'm honest, but
Especially if
then
they've got the safety net, mate. Sorry to interrupt.
yeah, but some of
Yeah,
them it's like after you've seen weeks and weeks of you getting beat, what more is there to sort of show, sort of thing. So again, some weeks it just gets brushed under the carpet, and you just move on to the next week, which ultimately doesn't change anything. And it is said, winning's a habit, losing's a habit. Once you get in that
yeah,
cycle, it's very hard to break. So yeah, it's you're sort of coming into video knowing what you're going to see, and then you move on. And again, you stood under the post next week, exactly the same thing.
yeah. No, it's not good, especially at that end where all your corporate boxes are and that, and it.
Yeah. It's not like you said. It's not
Yeah,
nice, and it's like I said. It's you don't want to lose. As a player, you don't want to lose, and obviously the fans they don't want to pay to see you lose. So obviously you're getting a bit of grief that end as well. So yeah, it's just not a nice situation.
yeah. Right, mate. So a move comes, doesn't it? And it's York now. So how did York convince you to make the move? And did anybody
So
else try
yeah,
and
so
snap you up?
It was COVID year. As I said again, I had the second lot of blood clots in COVID year, and Michael Carter were were really good to me because it wasn't any competitive games. He said, don't worry about it. You get healthy. And I sort of decided I'd take the rest of the year off. But I did say if you needed any, if you went through any injuries, I'd be there if you needed me, sort of thing. Um, I don't think they believed me, but they went through some injuries, made the call. Yeah, as I said, I was out keeping myself fit because that were my thing mentally, just to keep going. So I came back in, boom, straight back in. Played the end of the year, but I'd always said I'm thinking of because my goal was the World Cup, get to the World Cup,
Yeah,
and then I'll sort of decide whether I want to continue or not. Um, and at this time, the World Cup hadn't been delayed, so I knew I had one more year to go. I thought, okay, if I go part time, I can look after my body a little bit, still train full time, and make the World Cup. And then I came back to Wakefield, played well for the end of the season. Thought about maybe I can still do full time, um, but the contract offer, they made me an offer, but it just maybe it was bad timing with COVID. It just wasn't a good year to be out of contract really. So for what it was worth, it was worth going to York, playing part time, and then picking up some work in between as well. So again, I met it was Fordy, James Ford at the time, the coach at York. He told me what he had planned at York. Up and coming club, great facilities. Had really good plans, the way he wanted to play, and I bought in. If I've got for me, if a coach knows what he's wanting to do, he sees me as a big part of that. You know, that's all I'm asking for really. So again, I joined there. It was tough to be honest. The transition from full time to part time was quite tough. Obviously, I'm used to being doing everything on a morning and be sort of done for midday. Here, obviously, the boys are working. You're training on an evening, late nights. So it took some adjusting, but I enjoyed my time there. Again, we just had loads of injuries. Halfbacks went out injured in pre-season, went out for the year. I think one game, myself and Chris Clarkson were playing 6 and 7. So it's
right.
it was just tough times,
Yeah,
just an unlucky year. Just really a lot of injuries, but I had a lot of respect for the game at that point because I thought full time were hard, but part time players I had so much respect for them for what they do in terms of working a full day job, and then training and playing. It's a big effort, and a lot of those guys are do manual jobs as well. Manual labour, so
yeah.
it's a fair effort.
So how was it when the World Cup come round, mate? And how did the Jamaica thing come about for you?
So my brother played for Jamaica back in 2016. I think he's
Yeah,
played years before that, but that's when it sort of clicked for me. It was when I had my first child, and everything for me earlier on in my career was all about myself. Being the best I can be, playing the best rugby I can, which ultimately was playing for England at the time and being involved in those squads. That's what I wanted to do. But then, sort of, more my sort of mindset changed, more family orientated. I had my kids, and I saw my brother play for Jamaica, and my grandma was at the game, my family was at the game, and they were so happy and so proud. And my grandma, even when I was at Leeds back in the day, used to go down to Leeds markets, and there was a butcher in there. She didn't go to buy any meat; she just went to talk rugby with a butcher. And I played for Leeds, so she was so happy. Just whenever you mentioned it, just a big smile on her face. So sort of from then, my goal was I want to play with my brother for Jamaica, and have my family there. And that was the goal from 2016. So we played the qualifiers in 2018 in America. Beat who did we beat? We beat Canada and America in the final to make the World Cup. And then we had a couple of turned into 3 years to the World Cup. So that was where it started, really, in terms of just trying to. When I first said I wanted to play, I got laughed at a little bit. Said, why do you want to go play for Jamaica? No one had heard of them. I think they were, is it? I don't know, tier 2 or tier 3 team. So everything was self-funded themselves. They had to do everything themselves. So my goal then was to, we're gonna, I'm gonna prove a few people wrong here. We're gonna put them on the map, so to speak, in terms of rugby league, and that was the goal. Smash the qualifiers, get to the World Cup. A few more players wanted to join on in terms of the qualifiers, Super League players, but they weren't allowed. But luckily, we got some more for the World Cup. So yeah, that's been a great journey. The boys that were there before me, who started the journey, and those that came with us all the way through to the World Cup, we're a great journey, and it's a great family to be a part of.
Special, mate, in it, especially like you said, for them lads that started it way back when no one was probably interested. No offense to anybody. And then to see you doing what you were doing, and jerseys everywhere. Like Levi had one on in Big Brother, mate, didn't he? Anyone outside rugby league won't realise what that jersey was.
Yeah,
But it was Jamaica rugby league jersey. And
yeah,
you're
that's
getting big
it.
people interested like that.
I think at the World Cup as well, we became everyone's second team because we bring sort of that vibrancy, that entertainment, music, and I think it's just massive. We could talk all day. I don't want to keep you all day, but international rugby league needs so much help, and to support teams to make it an international sport. So yeah, I thought it was really good, and we had people on board, and all the fans were really behind us, which were really good.
So there's the World Cup something you enjoyed, mate, because you could probably enjoy it rather than take it too serious.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Like I set out from. I had a 6-year plan to get to the World Cup from when I left Leeds, and then I'd decide what I wanted to do. But that was the goal. Obviously, first get to qualifiers, get us qualified, and then try and get and play in the World Cup. So yeah, it was for me. It was the pinnacle of my career, if I'm honest. Obviously, playing against the best, what we managed to do in terms of New Zealand, and just so much focus that I put into that 5-6 years to get there, and to see it come to, to see it happen, not see it realised, were amazing. And just again, I got to play at Headingley. The first game was at Headingley, so sort of I had a lot of family there, playing.
Alongside your brother, like we touched on before as
Yeah,
well.
alongside
Yeah.
my brother. So yeah, it was really good.
Yeah. Be like back garden again when you're tackling him.
Yeah, yeah,
But we're
yeah.
in the same top.
Yeah. And it's one of those when I play alongside my brother, I'm probably a bit harsher on him than everyone else because he's my
Yeah.
brother. So I remember shouting at him a few more times, and I shouted at everyone else. But no, it was great. Like you said, memories for the family for life.
That's mate. So you decide to play on, mate. So what chats are you having with people after the World Cup, and is there plenty of interest?
So it was a case of I saw I knew I were leaving York, and I went and played a bit of rugby union sevens, and then we had the World Cup, and then it sort of Mark Aston had sort of spoke to my agent previously and said, you know, what's he doing next year? And to be fair, you know, pre-season had come round and I'd not signed for a club yet. I was just, you know, I didn't have any club. But again, you know, I was just keeping myself fit. I knew it'd come eventually. I just, you know, didn't know where. So it actually came through Joe Farrell, who I played with Jamaica. He was at Sheffield Eagles at the time, and he just messaged me one Tuesday night saying, "Have you signed anywhere yet?" And I went, "No." He went, "Oh, Tubbs, which is Mark Aston, is asking about you." So I went, "Okay." 2 days later, I sat down and had a meeting with him. And yeah, he again told me all about Sheffield, the plans he had. They didn't have a home stadium at the time. You know, the plans to get back into Sheffield and you know, the aspirations they had. And again, yeah, perfect. I'm in. You know, and that was me. I went there. I think this is my third season there now, and yeah, again, and we talk about coaches who can manage. I think, you know, he's the epitome of it. He knows exactly. And one thing I've liked through my career for the majority of it is they're honest with you. You know, we come back to that situation where why aren't I playing? They'll give you an honest answer. They're not going to say, "Oh, you know, I just don't fancy you this week. I'm just giving you a rest." They'll tell you why you're not playing, or if you need to do something, improve. They'll tell you exactly that, and that's exactly what Mark is. Mark is very honest with you, and you know, for me, that's perfect. Um, so yeah,
You get to see a few of the old yarns, mate, from the old uni days.
yeah. Well, it's mad. And again, that tied into it as well. It's almost a bit of full circle. You know, I thought I was going
Yeah,
to play for him when I went on when I was told I was going to go on loan, and I didn't. So now it's like, yeah. So I'm not quite finishing yet, but it does feel a bit like full circle in
yeah,
terms of that back to Sheffield. Although it's very different to obviously how it was when I were there.
was. Yeah. Well, it's not that, mate. It's played a big part of your life, but
Yeah,
now it's playing a big part on the rugby side.
yeah,
Where
that's
then
it.
it's
Yeah,
played a big part for you and you know life, your education, mate, and the future after rugby. It is a nice place to, and I hope you can finish there in another 10 years, mate. But it'd be a nice place to finish.
yeah. No, yeah, I
Yeah,
hope so. Like I said, I'm really enjoying playing there. We've got a really good group of players, you know, both mixed in terms of experience and youth as well. And most importantly, what plays a massive part is the style of rugby we play. You know, we move the ball around. We're not one of these teams that'll just go boom, 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 kick, try and
yeah,
wait for an error and then come to life. You know, we have a license to move the ball. You know, when we're kick returning, we're encouraged to find a pass all the time. You know, whether it's play 1, 2, or 3. You know, we're encouraged to play. So it's just a really good brand of rugby that I really like.
yeah, mate. So you mentioned before, and I hope you don't mind, I'll pick up on it. Your aspiration wouldn't be on the field when you're done, it'd be off the field. So what's made you want to do that? And and is it something you're going to take serious when the boots have got a nail in them in the wall, mate?
Sorry, it just clicked out a little bit there. I missed the
Yeah,
beginning.
it's all right. So you touched on before about if you want to be off the field in the
Oh
future
yeah,
with a club
yeah.
instead of being on it. So where did the interest in that come, Ben? And why are you? Is it something you're going to take really serious, mate?
It's probably always been there from being young, really. From being at school, I always did business studies at school. My two passions have always been business and sports. And as I said, my mum was keen on education, so when I went to uni, I was trying to look at something to combine the two. I ended up doing sport and leisure management degree. Again, sports and business, just tried to combine the two, and that's where I see myself in the future. I mean, through my career, I've sort of built a property portfolio as well. So, you know, I'm heavily invested in property. So, between those sort of two avenues, it's probably what I'm gonna fall back into, if I'm honest. I'd like to stay involved in rugby league in a capacity, if that could lead to that way, sort of an admin. I don't really know. I don't know. I'd have to look a bit more into how a club works and what opportunities they are there. But yeah, as I'm just very much not on the playing side. Maybe not day to day on the playing side. Maybe coming in as a backs coach, or I do a little bit now with some of my agents, younger boys, in terms of, just not one to one, but I suppose it's a workshop, just a few hours every now and again, just teaching them, or doing little bits with them. So I can see that, but as a day to day coach, it's just not for me. I think it's very time intensive, and maybe not as
Standing, mate,
rewarding
innit?
as
Yeah.
I think to be for me to be like one of the top coaches, it'd consume you. It'd be very time intensive, and I think at the minute with a young family, a couple of young kids, I quite like a bit more time, if I'm honest.
Yeah. You still look really young, mate. You don't want that to alter that, do
No.
you? So I've got a few daft questions for you, if that's all right, Ben.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
So, any pre-match superstitions, mate?
I always have chicken carbonara. My wife has perfected it over the years. So yeah, chicken carbonara with either a garlic bread or a pita bread or something like that. So yeah, it's just that's my meal really. Night before.
Hey, mate, and this next word's definition is different for everybody. But the toughest player you've played with and against.
Right. Okay. Toughest player I've played with and against. I'd say toughest player I've played with. I'd probably say Jamie Peacock, just for the shot, just the will, you know, determination, all those sort of words that come under that category, just grit, In terms of against, I'll probably flip it a different way and say just the toughest player, or the person who gave me most worries, sleepless nights, so to speak, would probably be Pat Richards. Earlier on in my career, we seemed to play Wigan in a lot of big games, and obviously he was a massive kick threat for them, so they used to kick for him a lot. So yeah, I'd say probably coming one on one with Pat Richards in the air.
Right, mate. And I know we've spoke about grounds and that before, and the football grounds and stuff that you like to play at. But your favourite away ground that you've played at, mate?
I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna say Headingley. I've not actually played there um, as a non-Leeds player, but away from that, I'd say the DW. Um, Hull FC's up there. No, I'd say DW. Yeah. Again, the surface is usually immaculate, especially back end of the year. Obviously, when the football's finished, the surface is really good. It's always a great atmosphere. And as I said, we just sort of in memory, we've always been tough games. Big important games.
Right, if you could go back and tell a younger Ben something, mate, what would it be?
Ask more questions. I think, yeah, I'm a bit conservative, and as I said there, Brent Webb was my mentor. I probably sat and watched him and took stuff from him, but probably just ask a few more questions. I'd say that'd be the biggest thing.
And if you're out and you've had a few beers with the missus or with the lads, mate, and the microphone ends up in your hand, what are you going to give us on that karaoke?
Me karaoke song for every club has been Craig David 7 Days. That's
Yeah.
yeah, that's my song.
Yeah, class, mate. Right, and if you're willing to, mate, a 1 to 13 that you've been involved with so far.
Oh, this has took some work. This I sat down
Right.
for half an hour before this and umming and ahhing. I mean, it would be hard to go against obviously my Leeds team that I've been involved in, but I've tried to throw some in from other teams. So I've got a question for you here. Actually, would
Yeah,
you
mate.
would you go with Carl Ablett? Would you think he could be a 13,
Yeah,
or
do
would
you
you
know?
keep?
Do you know what I think about Carl, mate? Right, I probably underappreciated his work rate.
Yeah.
when you was as good as you was. But you know, then when he weren't there, you seen he weren't there.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those underappreciated players, just
He
grafted.
was, yeah.
But I've got a
But you've been
predicament.
quite blessed, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got him
But
in.
he
I've
could
got him
play
currently.
13.
You think he can play 13?
Where you going to play? I would think you probably would normally pick 13 because your 6 and 7 have been good, haven't they?
Yeah, that's where I'm torn. At the minute, I've got Kev Sinfield at 13.
Yeah.
But if I put Abel at 13, Kev will go to 9.
That, at 9.
Yeah, and I put 6 and 7 would be Rob and Danny.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Do you know, I wouldn't have minded seeing Kev play 9 because he wouldn't necessarily have to defend at 9, would he?
yeah, yeah. I'm
Did he
stuck.
play much 9 with you, Ben? Have you played 9 with
Played
him?
well. He Rob played 9, but he played 9 at for England. Kev,
Right.
I'm pretty sure he did. I've seen him play 9 somewhere. That's why I had in my head I could move him to
Yeah.
9. But no, I'm gonna stick. I'm gonna stick with it. So I'll keep
Right.
Kyle Ablett at back row. So I've gone
Yeah.
number 1 Brent Webb.
Yeah.
I've gone 2 Tom Johnson, 3 Callum Watkins, 4 Keith Senior, 5 Ryan Hall, 6 Danny Maguire. I've gone 7 Luke Dawn, 8 Jamie Peacock, 9 Rob Burrow, 10 Harrison Hansen, 11 Carl Ablett, 12 Danny Kermond, and 13 Kev Sinfield.
Some
So
side,
yeah,
mate, innit?
it was tough. You know, I would
Yeah.
really if I would have moved Carl to 13, I would have put Kev at 9, and I would have moved Callum to back row and put Riesling in centre. So yeah, I've got some good subs. So I've got
Yeah.
Riesling, Hardacre.
To be fair to Cal, mate, he looks a natural back row, it, doesn't he, Cal?
Yeah, he's nice and big in he and
Yeah.
agile and athletic. So yeah, he's a great player.
No, that's some side, mate.
Yeah,
Isn't it mad? Like we put yous on these pedestals, and sure we should because of what yous do. But like quite a bit of that team have sport too, and they're just like normal fellas, aren't they?
yeah.
Like that's why I do it. Yous are like, without being rude, yous are normal fellas.
I think that's the beauty of rugby league. If I'm honest, like you said, it's
Yeah.
mainly working class lads, and ultimately, if we're not on the field, we'd be in the terraces watching it ourselves. So, yeah, I think that's just the nature of us, really. But yeah, some tough names I've left out, but hopefully I don't get too much grief.